Apple has quietly rolled out a new security-focused feature. Gmail might be adding email aliasing, tons of open source news, and much more. Welcome to Surveillance Report 203, where we are dedicated to keeping you private and secure with the latest news from the past week. I am Nathan from The New Oil.
2 weeks.
Oh, yes, 2 weeks. I'm on autopilot. My bad. 2 weeks.
Me too.
2 weeks. But I am still Nathan.
And I'm still Henry.
So our sponsor for the next few episodes is Easy Opt-Outs. Henry talked about them last week, and now it is my turn to tell you all about these guys that I am very excited to be working with. Easy Opt-Outs is a data removal service. So, we talk a lot about people search websites and how it is unfortunately scary easy to look up somebody from phone number or email address, or if they have a unique name or even a relatively unique name. It's pretty easy to find a lot of information about a person. This is one solution, Easy Opt-Outs. They're super affordable. They're only $20 a year compared to a lot of other services. And there's actual research suggesting that they work. We covered this story several months ago. Consumer Reports did a pretty lengthy, I think like 6-month-long deep dive where they used a bunch of different people as a sample set, and they found the Easy Opt-Outs was the second most effective service that does this. The first one was Optory, but they cost literally 10 times as much. So you can go with them if you want, but Easy Opt-Out seems like the best bang for your buck. Some of their big selling points, they only do a removal request if they find you on a people search site. A lot of these services will just send out an email to everybody, and some people have said like, well, what if my data's not already on that website? They make sure it's there before they send a removal request. They do not use any third-party contractors, or they don't have tons and tons of employees. There are 2 founders, and Henry and I spoke with both of them personally. They don't have any analytics on their website. They don't run any ads, anything like that. When you sign up, they only ask for the information they need to verify it's you on the website. They're not going to ask for anything that isn't already out there. They do offer refunds if you're not satisfied, and they also offer business plans. I personally have been using them for a couple years. I'm really happy with it. Every once in a while, like I said, I do search myself to see what they've missed, and it's usually not very much. And the things they miss are things that I wouldn't expect them to find. Like most of my information out there now is actually like professional stuff from when I was a freelancer, when I'm credited as like the tech or something. So I've been really happy with it. And I was the one who reached out to these guys to be like, hey, we'd like to work with you guys as a sponsor. So really excited to be working with these guys. Really happy about it. Go check them out. With all that, we're going to jump into the highlight story. You guys have probably heard this one because, we missed last week, but Apple quietly introduced iPhone reboot code, which is locking out cops. So 404 originally reported on this story, but it has kind of popped up in a lot of other places too, because this is a little surprising. I actually think this story has gotten less coverage than I would have expected given the nature of it. But basically, Apple has quietly introduced code into iOS 18.1, which reboots the device if it has not been unlocked for a period of time and reverts it to a state which improves the security of phones overall, really, and is making it harder for police to break into the devices, according to multiple security experts. In a law enforcement and forensics expert-only group chat, Christopher Vance, who is a forensic specialist at Magnet Forensics, said, quote, "We have identified code within iOS 18 and higher that is an inactivity timer. This timer will cause devices in an AFU state to reboot to a BFU state after a set period of time, which we have also identified." For those who don't know, AFU is after first unlock and BFU is before first unlock. Before first unlock is generally nothing, is known to be significantly harder to crack. And I don't know if this still works, but I've heard a rumor that one way you can get an example of this is if you reboot your phone and before you unlock it for the first time, once it reboots and it's ready to be unlocked, have one of your contacts call you. It won't show up as a contact. It'll show up as a phone number. The reason is because since you haven't unlocked your phone, nothing is decrypted. There's nothing in the temporary memory. And therefore, it's just I don't know all the details on what they do because I'm not a developer, but yeah, it's a lot harder for authorities or anybody really to break into a phone that hasn't been unlocked for the first time. So that's BFU. Vance goes on to say the reboot timer is not tied to any network or charging functions and only tied to inactivity of the device. And I believe since then, there has been studies saying that it's 72 hours, if I'm remembering correctly. So for 72 hours, if you haven't unlocked the phone, it will reboot. Just to throw it out there, Matthew Green said, "Remember that the real threat here is not police. It's the kind of people who will steal your iPhone for malign purposes. The feature means that if your phone gets stolen, the thieves can't nurse it along for months until they develop the tech to crack it." It's not just police, or it's not specifically aimed at police. It's anybody who would take your phone and then think like, oh, I'll try to get into this later. It's just a nifty little feature to try and make it a little bit harder for those people, whether they are police or not. And I really think it's interesting that Apple hasn't really openly talked about this. I haven't heard of any sort of statements, any sort of releases. Like the article said, they quietly did it and it's just there now. And I think it's a good thing for sure. It's not a new feature and it is a welcome feature because, again, BFU is so much more secure. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting story. I think that's all I got.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add.
Okay. Pretty straightforward story, but pretty big and interesting. I think that's why it's our headline story. This is pretty big news.
And now we're going to go into the data breaches. And if you're watching in the video format, you'll see I am not in my normal area. So I included a photo of when I was in Vienna, and it's the cathedral. The first data breach is Amazon has confirmed a breach of employee data. And this is a blast to the past because it's a move it breach. This included employees' names, work contact information, and what location they work at, and has more than 2.8 million lines of data. Amazon and AWS systems remain secure, and we have not experienced a security event, according to Amazon. They were notified about a security event at one of their property management vendors that impacted several of its customers, including Amazon. The only Amazon information involved was employee work contact information, for example, like their email, desk phone numbers, and building locations. Amazon added that the vendor only receives employee contact information and did not have access to other more sensitive info like social security numbers, documents, and other financial data. Amazon said the vendor has fixed the underlying security vulnerability.
Have I Been Pwned has notified 57 million people of a Hot Topic data breach. For those who don't know, Hot Topic is an American retail chain specializing in counterculture-related clothing, accessories, and licensed music merchandise. The company operates over 640 stores across the US and Canada, primarily located in shopping malls, and has a vast customer base. According to Have I Been Pwned, the exposed details include full names, email addresses, dates of birth, phone numbers, physical addresses, purchase history, and partial credit card data for Hot Topic, Box Lunch, and Torrid customers. While Hot Topic has remained silent and no notifications were sent to potentially impacted customers, data analytics firm Atlas Privacy reported last week that 730 gigs of data actually impacts 54 million customers. Additionally, Atlas clarified that the dataset contains 25 million credit card numbers encrypted with a weak cipher that's easy to break using modern computers. Although they are not 100% certain the database belongs to Hot Topic, it noted that nearly half of all email addresses were not seen in previous breaches, further supporting the legitimacy of the threat actors' claims. Atlas says that the breach appears to have occurred on October 19th, and the data spans from 2011 until that date.
City of Columbus had the data of 500,000 people stolen in July ransomware attack. So we did cover this back over summer, but attackers stole data and leaked some of it, and the city tried to downplay it and say it was encrypted and there were no consequences, and a researcher kept proving them wrong and showing, no, this is actually a thing. So despite the city making these claims, saying the leaked data was unusable, it actually ended up notifying 500,000 individuals in early October that the attackers stole and published some of their personal and financial information on the dark web. The information involved in the incident may have included personal information like first and last name, date of birth, address, bank account info, driver's license, social security number, and other identifying information concerning you and or your interactions with the city. The city is now providing 24 months of free Experian IdentityWorks credit monitoring and identity restoration services.
And then the last two are pretty quick. I'll just blow through them real quick. Schneider Electric confirmed that they had a dev platform breach after an attacker stole the data, and this did include some email addresses and full names for employees and customers, which is why we're including it here, because we don't normally include like corporate data like source code and stuff like that unless it has personal data in it. And there was also a flaw in a right-wing election integrity app that exposed user data. That specifically, I think, was the email addresses of users who posted or commented on the platform. At least 146 user email addresses were exposed.
And now the company news, and we're going to start with Mozilla, the foundation who's laid off 30% of its staff, and it's dropped its advocacy division. For those who don't know, Mozilla Foundation is a really complicated corporate structure because the foundation holds several organizations, one of which is a company. The nonprofit arm of the Firefox browser has laid off 30% of its employees as the organization says it faces a relentless onslaught of change. The foundation is reorganizing teams to increase agility and impact as they accelerate work to make their tech better. According to its annual tax filings, the Mozilla Foundation reported having 60 employees during the 2022 tax year. The number of employees at the time of the layoffs was closer to 120 people. This is the second layoff at Mozilla this year, the first affecting dozens of employees who work on the side of the organization that builds Firefox. So the second part of this story, besides the layoffs, which is really unfortunate, is that Mozilla also works on advocacy. And this is to create safer, more transparent online experiences, which ultimately benefit the browser maker and its users. As part of announcing the layoffs, they also said that they've confirmed that 2 of the foundation's major divisions, advocacy and global programs, are no longer a part of their structure. So the advocacy is still a central tenet of Mozilla Foundation's work and will be embedded in all of other functional areas without providing specifics.
Android 15's virtual machine mandate is aimed at improving security. Basically, in 2022, with Android 13, Google introduced a feature called the Android Virtualization Framework. The initial use case envisioned is to provide a safe environment to compile security-sensitive code. For example, when the project mainline module for the Android runtime is updated, certain code needs to be recompiled. Thanks to AVF, this code can be securely recompiled in the background by a stripped-down version of Android running in a virtual machine, reducing the long boot delay that would otherwise occur if the code were to be recompiled post-reboot. Isolated compilation, while nice, is just one of the many ways that AVF can be utilized. Google also envisions it'll be used to handle DRM applications like Widevine and proprietary machine learning models that companies don't want to be leaked. As we saw earlier this year, though, Google has much bigger plans in store for AFV. The company sees it being used to run full-fledged operating systems in a virtual machine. Google at one point even experimented with running Chrome OS on Android devices via AVF, a project that was unfortunately just a proof of concept. Many Android devices already support AVF. According to Google Play's console device catalog, there are already 361 device models that support it. This includes every Pixel since the 6, as well as numerous models from OEMs like OnePlus, Xiaomi, Motorola, Vivo, Tecno, Oppo, and more. Notably, though, there isn't a single Samsung device on the list, regardless of chipset. It's not clear why Samsung devices don't support AVF, but perhaps it conflicted with Samsung Knox in some way.
Google may soon let you create email aliases in an effort to fight spam. This is an APK on the menu that this afternoon was launched, and some people at Android Authority found a ton of strings referencing and in support of something called shielded email. They were able to infer a lot, and they dug into the tech, and it looks like it's for single-use or limited-use email aliases that will forward messages along to your primary Gmail account. So they think it could be useful in something like Chrome, where it looks like this is exactly where Google's building it to address apps that asks for your email address. So this is built into Google Play services, and we don't really know how it's going to be integrated, what this looks like. These are all just purely speculation.
So there's a new alternative to Have I Been Pwned called databreach.com. This is the work of a New Jersey company called Atlas Privacy, who we just talked about in the data breach section. So they've now released this website, databreach.com, which helps consumers, quoting the article, which helps consumers remove their personal information from data brokers and people search websites. On Wednesday, the company told PC Mag that it had launched databreach.com as an alternative to Have I Been Pwned, which is mainly searchable via users' email addresses. Databreach.com is designed to do that and more. In addition to your email address, the site features an advanced search function to see whether your full name, physical address, phone number, social security number, IP address, or username are in Atlas Privacy's extensive library of recorded breaches. More categories will also be added over time. Importantly, Atlas designed databreach.com to prevent it from storing or collecting any sensitive user information typed into the site. Instead, the site will fetch a hash from Atlas's servers or a fingerprint from the user's personal information, whether it be an email address, name, or SSN, and compare it to whatever the user is searching for. The comparison will be done locally. In the meantime, databreach.com is also indexing databases that Have I Been Pwned doesn't seem to have. Troy Hunt, who is the person behind Have I Been Pwned, noted that while data removal services are admirable, they also can't force cybercriminals to take down their content from underground forums. He says, quote, look at the latest breaches on the front page of that website, or Have I Been Pwned for that matter, and ask how you can have your data removed from those breaches. You can't.
This is really quick. Malwarebytes has acquired Azure VPN to fuel additional VPN features and functionalities.
And with that, we'll go into research. And we just have one quick story this week. AI bug bounty program yields 34 flaws in open source tools. And I actually saw several stories like that these last couple weeks about different companies have their AI tools that are finding vulnerabilities and bugs in different programs. So with this one specifically, there were nearly 36 flaws in open source AI and machine learning tools that were disclosed Tuesday as part of Project AI's Hunter Bug Bounty program. The discoveries include 3 critical vulnerabilities, which I'm not going to list here because I haven't heard of most of these. Well, I guess there was one for the GUI of ChatGPT, so there's that. The October vulnerability report also includes 18 high-severity flaws ranging from denial of service to remote code execution. Protect AI's report also highlights vulnerabilities in local AI, a platform running AI models locally on consumer-grade hardware, as well as several others. All the vulnerabilities are discussed in detail in the article and have been fixed.
All right, we're going to get political in the politics section, which is not really that political. Trudeau's government in Canada has banned TikTok from operating there, but Canadians can still use it. The long story short here is that you can still download and use TikTok as a Canadian resident, but they've shut down the 2 offices that TikTok had in Toronto and Vancouver. This is based on information and evidence that it's a security risk, a national security risk.
Next up, out of Germany, we have some pretty good news, I think. Germany has drafted laws to protect researchers who find security flaws. So this new law amends Section 202A of the Criminal Code, which is abbreviated the STGB, to protect IT security researchers, companies, and so-called hackers from punishment under computer criminal law. This applies when their actions are carried out to detect and close a security vulnerability, as long as they are not considered unauthorized. The same exclusion from the criminal liability also applies to offenses pertaining to data interceptions and data modifications, as long as the related actions are deemed authorized. At the same time, the draft bill introduces a penalty ranging from 3 months to 5 years of imprisonment for severe cases of malicious data spying and data interception. And of course, there are significantly more details in the article about how they define these things and what these all mean.
Singapore to increase road capacity by tracking all vehicles with GPS. The densely populated island state is moving from what it calls electric road pricing 1.0 to 2.0. The first version used gantries, or automatic tolls, to charge drivers a fee through an in-car device when they use specific roadways during certain hours. But 2.0 sees the vehicle instead tracked through GPS, which can tell where a vehicle is at all operating times. It will be more comprehensive, and it will use aggregated traffic information, and it will be able to operate without those physical toll booths, essentially. We'll be able to introduce new virtual toll booths, which allow for more flexible and responsive congestion management.
Now for the free and open source software news. We're going to start off with some news from Mullvad. Mullvad is removing OpenVPN, and this will take place in January of 2026, so you have a little bit over a year to brace yourself. The reason they're giving is they say they want to focus entirely on WireGuard, as explained in detail back in 2017. And if you click the article, that's actually a link that takes you back to their initial blog post when they said, hey, we're going to start using WireGuard, and here's why. They say, by moving to a single protocol, we will be able to focus our resources where they can make a difference. If you make use of the official Mullvad VPN app on any platform, this will not impact you at all. OpenVPN support will be removed from both client and server side, meaning that even if you have an old app with OpenVPN support, it will not work after January 15th, 2026. If you are using a router or third-party app that uses OpenVPN, we strongly advise you to start migrating to WireGuard. You have roughly 1 year to complete your migration. We have guides on how to use WireGuard in the help section of our website. And then the other story is Mullvad saying that remaining PayPal subscriptions are being canceled. And we're just sharing this just to kind of signal boost and give you guys a heads up, because I'm sure we have a lot of Mullvad users. All remaining PayPal subscriptions are being canceled. If you have a PayPal subscription, you will get a notification email from PayPal. This does not affect the time remaining on your account. It will just not be renewed automatically. Please add time by doing a one-time payment with any payment method, including PayPal, by logging in with your account. We will remove subscriptions in order to store less data about our customers, and you can read more about this in a blog post from 2022. Which, again, that is also a link.
Improving private Signal calls with call links and more. So if you love group calls on Signal but don't want to create a group chat for every combination of your friends or colleagues, they're launching something called call links, where you just share a link with anyone on Signal, and in a tap or a click, they can join the call, no group chat required. Think of like a Zoom invite or a Google Meets invite. This is pretty much what this is, but for the Signal ecosystem. So Signal as an organization runs all their meetings internally using Signal calls. They also are trying to improve the call quality. They spent the last few months building some welcome improvements, and all of these are available in the latest version of Signal for Android, iOS, and desktop. So update to check them out, which includes a raise hand button, emoji reactions, a dedicated call tab, view options on desktop, require approval to join, and more.
So these next couple come from Bitwarden, and one is just a real quick update to a story we covered in the past. Bitwarden switches Password Manager and SDK to GLP3 after fossiness drama. Fear not, FOSS fans, Bitwarden isn't going proprietary after all. The company has changed its license terms once again, but this time it has switched the license of its software development kit from its own homegrown one to version 3 of the GPL instead. A GitHub commit entitled Improve Licensing Language changes the license on the company's SDK from its own license to the unmodified GPL 3. Previously, if you removed the internal SDK, it was no longer possible to build the publicly available source code without errors. Now the publicly available SDK is GPL 3, and you can get and build the whole thing. And then the authors of this article say the change is commendable and we're glad to see it. It does, however, look as if the company is leaving itself room to build more non-FOSS tools in the future. And then also on Bitwarden news, the Bitwarden Flatpak on FlatHub now appears to be official. So this comes from a user on the Techlore forums. They said the Bitwarden Flatpak is now official and officially supported. There has been a Flatpak for a long time, but it was unofficial and was not officially affiliated with or endorsed by Bitwarden. I haven't seen an announcement yet from Bitwarden, but FlatHub now lists it as official/verified. And there was a commit 4 days ago at the time of this post. So probably 2 weeks ago at this point, which removed the unofficial warning.
All right, and now I'm going to take the Tuda stories of the week. The first one is the Tuda calendar app is now on F-Droid. And also, this is interesting. So historically, Tuda has always done a we're not doing a Black Friday deal kind of statement because they think that they offer fair prices year-round and they don't really like the consumerism of Tuda, were kind of the reasons cited beforehand. And this year, they are doing a Black Friday discount. So I don't know what that means. Either way, yeah, you can save 62% on their Legend plan, which is available till December 4th.
And now for Tuda's competitor, Proton. Proton is also doing some interesting stuff. They are now offering a Pass Lifetime where you pay once and protect your privacy forever. For a limited time, Proton Pass is offering something they've never offered before, lifetime access to Plus and Simple Login Premium. Instead of renewing every month or year, you can now make a one-time payment of $200 to enjoy all Proton Plus and Simple Login Premium features forever. This is available until December 3rd. It is available to everyone with a free or paid plan. If you're currently subscribed to a business plan, unfortunately, this offer is not available. But for full details on eligibility, please check out their support article, which is linked. And last but not least, it is that time of year again. Help Proton choose the recipients for the 2024 Lifetime Account Charity Fundraiser. So basically, every year, Proton does a raffle. They do 10 lifetime accounts, which apparently used to be a thing, but no longer is a thing that you can purchase. It gives you all Proton features and the most storage on all existing and future products forever. And importantly, they are transferable, so you can resell them on the secondary market. Proton is available to help facilitate those transfers, so this is something they approve of. You don't have to hide it. Their fundraiser is a chance to win a lifetime account by purchasing any number of tickets for $10 each. So, $20 is 2 tickets, $50 is 5 tickets. This year's raffle will work similar to last year's. The only difference is that they're not auctioning off any specific usernames. Anyone can participate. They will also be giving away one random lifetime account to a member of the community. So if you follow them on X, Instagram, Reddit, Mastodon, or Facebook, you will be eligible. They're going to pick 10 different organizations. You can nominate them now. Last year, they donated $732,000 between 10 different organizations. The first day to buy tickets will be December 12th. The last day will be January 5th, and winners will be announced on January 6th.
And now we're in our final category, the Misfits. A cryptocurrency CEO was kidnapped in Toronto, and he was released after paying a $1 million ransom. So he is the CEO of Canadian firm WonderFi, and he was just shoved into a vehicle in downtown Toronto during rush hour, and he was released uninjured after sending $1 million to his captors. This is the 171st incident of physical violence to steal cryptocurrency, and that's really it for the story.
All right, and that was all the news we had for this week. So Apple has quietly rolled out a new security-focused feature, which, we always welcome things that improve privacy or security around here. Gmail might be adding email aliasing. So again, same thing. Not fans of Gmail, but it's an improvement on privacy and security. A lot of FOSS news. Make sure that you go and check that out because there's some good stuff in there that at least one of those things probably affects almost everybody listening and much more.
And we're going to try something new where we still haven't figured out who does what sponsor segments. So we're considering, since there's a one at the beginning and one at the end, we can just split it per episode. So my thoughts on easy opt-outs is I actually purchased one when we did our last sponsor segment 2 weeks ago. So I purchased it for the first time myself for my personal life. and I already got my stuff opted out of, and they actually opted me out of some sites that they found my data on. And I've been a delete me subscriber now for years. So there's some like proof that at least I could speak to on my end, anecdotally, that at least some services do better than other services in this realm. So it was really cool to see that. There are still some services that easy opt-outs haven't done, and they can't do them because you have to do them manually, but they list it out super clearly in the email, and they say just do these 3 manually on your own. And it's super clear cut. It was really easy to sign up, super affordable because it's only $20 a year. Delete Me is a lot more expensive, as well as these other services. Like Nate was saying earlier, the cost and the value is just incredible. I was also really impressed with just the little amount of data they needed, but they allowed you to still input a lot more. So it was just really flexible for people who only want to give up the minimal information to get by. Overall, super cool service. The 2 guys behind it are doing a great job, and we've been in contact with them. I've been asking them questions, and they've been really transparent and clear about their goals. It just seems like a really great company. I have like nothing but great things to say, and we're going to leave links down in the description for you all to try it out. They even do refunds if you're not satisfied, and they also have business plans and other things to try out. Big fan so far, and I'll probably still keep giving status updates as time goes on.
So with that, thank you guys for listening to The Surveillance Report. Links to all of the stories can be found in the show notes as usual. If you have a story that you think we should cover, please send it to news@surveillancereport.tech. I just remembered some people have sent us some stories that I think I forgot to include. I apologize. I will check the email and see if those are a good fit for next week's episode. The final thing we want to ask of you guys, please share the podcast around. Make sure you are subscribed. Give us a rating if you're listening on a platform where that's an option. We're trying to reach as many people as possible with the message of privacy, and you can help us do that. So thank you again for listening, and we'll be back hopefully next week. I don't think I'm traveling. We'll see. But thank you guys.